My name is Suraj Kadam, and today we are discuss about stem cells. Basically, stem cells are undifferentiated or blank cells. This means they have capable of developing into cells that serve numerous functions in different parts of the body. Most cells in the body are differentiated cells. These cells can only serve a specific purpose in a particular organ. For example, red blood cells are specifically designed to carry oxygen through the blood. All humans start out as only one cell. This cell is called a zygote or a fertilized egg. The zygote divides into two cells, then four cells, and so on. Eventually, the cells begin to differentiate, taking on a certain function in a part of the body. This process is called differentiation. Stem cells are cells that haven't differentiated yet. They have the ability to divide and make and identify indefinite number of copies of themselves. Other cells in the body can only replicate a limited limited number of times before they begin to break down. When a stem cell divides, it can either remain a stem cell or turn into a differentiated cell, such as a muscle cell or a red blood cell. The next point is the uses of stem cells. Since stem cells have the ability to turn into various other types of cells, scientists believe that they can be useful for treating and understanding diseases. According to the Mayo Clinic, stem cells are to be used for for grow new cells in a laboratory to replace damaged organs or tissues, correct parts of organs that don't work properly, research causes of genetic defects in cells, research how diseases occur or why certain cells develop into cancer cells, test new drugs for safety and effectiveness. The next point is types of stem cells. There are several types of stem cells that can be used for different purposes. The first one is embryonic stem cells. Embryonic stem cells come from human embryos that are 3 or 5 days old. They are harvested during a process called in vitro fertilization. This involves fertilizing an embryo in a laboratory instead of inside the female body. Embryonic stem cells are known as pluripotent stem cells. These cells can give rise to virtually any other type of cell in the body. Next one is non-embryonic, means adult stem cells. Adult stem cells have a misleading name because they are also found in infants and children. These stem cells come from developed organ and tissues in the body. They were used by the body to repair and replace damaged tissue in the same area in which they are found. For example, hematopoietic stem cells are a type of adult stem cells found in bone marrow. They make new red blood cells, white blood cells, and other types of blood cells. Doctors have been performing stem cells transplants, also known as bone marrow transplants, for decades using hematopoietic stem cells in order to treat certain types of cancer. Adult stem cells can't differentiate into as many other types of cells as embryonic stem cells can. The next one type is induced pluripotent stem cells. Scientists have recently discovered how to turn adult stem cells into pluripotent stem cells. These new types of cells are called induced pluripotent stem cells, as iPSCs. They can differentiate into all types of specialized cells in the body. This means they can potentially produce new cells for any organ or tissue. To create iPSCs, scientists generally program the adult stem cells so they behave like embryonic stem cells. The breakthrough breakthrough has created a way to differentiate the stem cells. This may make them more useful in understanding how diseases develop. Scientists are hoping that the cells can be made from someone's own skin to treat a disease. This will help prevent the immune system from rejecting an organ transplant. Research is underway to find ways to produce iPSCs. The next type is cord blood stem cells and amniotic fluid stem cells. Cord blood stem cells are harvested from the umbilical cord after child's birth. They can be frozen in cell banks for use in the future. These cells have been successfully used to treat children with blood cancers such as leukemia and certain genetic blood disorders. Stem cells have also been found in amniotic fluid. This is the fluid that surrounds a developing baby inside the mother's womb. However, more research is needed to help understand the potential uses of amniotic fluid stem cells. And the next type is stem cell research controversy. Adult stem cells don't present any ethical problems. However, in recent years, there has been controversy surrounding the way human embryonic stem cells are obtained. During the process of harvesting embryonic stem cells, the embryo is destroyed. This raises ethical concerns for people who believe that the destruction of a fertilized embryo is morally wrong. Opponents believe that an embryo is a living human being. They don't think the fertilized eggs should be used for research. They argue that the embryo should have the same rights as every other human and that these rights should be protected. Supporters of stem cell research, on the other hand, believe that the embryos are not yet humans. They note that researchers receive consent from donor couple who whose eggs and sperms were used to create the embryo. Supporters also argue that the fertilized egg created during in vitro fertilization would be discarded anyway, so they might be put to better use for scientific research. With the with the breakthrough discovery of iPSCs, there may be less of need for human embryos in research. This may help ease the concern of those who are against using embryos for medical research. However, if iPSCs have a potential to develop into a human embryo, researchers could theoretically create a clone of the donor. This parents another ethical issue is to take into consideration. Many countries already have legislation in place that effectively bans human cloning. The next point is federal regulations on stem cell research. In the United States, federal policy regarding stem cell research have evolved over time as different presidents have taken office. It's important to note that no federal regulation has over explicitly banned stem cell research in the United States. Rather, regulations have placed restrictions on public finding and use. However, certain states have placed bans on the creation or destruction of human embryos for medical research. There are some examples of stem cell research. Stem cell research is ongoing at universities, research institutions, and hospitals around the world. Researchers are currently focusing on finding ways to control how stem cells turn into other types of cells. The process of cell differentiation. A primary goal of research on embryonic stem cells is to learn how undifferentiated stem cells turn into differentiated stem cells that form specific tissues and organs. Researchers also interested in figuring out how to control this process of differentiation. Over the years, scientists have developed methods to manipulate the stem cell process to create a particular cell type. This process is called directed differentiation. A recent study also discovered the first steps in how stem cells also into brain cells and other types of cells. More research on this topic is also ongoing. There are some medical conditions that may potentially there are some medical conditions that may potentially be treated with embryonic stem cells, and that includes traumatic spinal cord injury, stroke, severe burns, rheumatoid arthritis, heart disease, hearing loss, retinal disease, and Parkinson's disease. The next one is the using stem cells to test new drugs. Researchers also using differentiated stem cells to test the safety and effectiveness of new medications. Testing drugs on human stem cells eliminates the need to test them on animals. Thank you.